So here's a crazy story. Happened to a friend of mine. Called me yesterday. He's like, "Man, I got something to tell you. Remember that truck I had? I was going to sell it. I put it on Craigslist. He's had this truck for like 18 years, long time. Plenty of experience with it. How it starts, all the maintenance and all that stuff, and all the repairs he's done in the past. And he's like, I finally decided I can't afford it. It's got 8 miles at a gallon. He's got a house at the river now. He goes back and forth, and the gas is just crazy expensive now. So he decided he's going to put it on Craigslist. So this guy calls him up, says, "Hey, I'm interested in your truck. I want to come see it." And so Steve says, "Okay, yeah, where are you coming from? I'll give you directions." And guy goes, San Clemente. San Clemente is a highfalutin kind of town, kind of expensive to live there. He says, okay, but it's kind of far away, and traffic at that time of day was really bad, so I figured it's going to take a while for him to get there. He's like, okay, well, this is my address, and I live in Rancho Cucamonga or whatever, and come take a look at it. I'll have it ready for you. So he's waiting around. He decides to bring the truck out front so the guy can see it, and so he parks it out front, outside the gate, and he goes back in the house. He's waiting for these guys to show up. And then he gets a thing on his phone saying, okay, we're here. Want to look at it. And Steve comes out, opens the garage up, truck's on the side of the house. And two guys are over there kind of looking at the truck. And Steve comes over and, opens it up and goes to start it up. And the one guy's kind of leaning in, looking at the mileage and looking inside the truck and kind of leaning on the seat and watching exactly what Steve does and stuff. And Steve puts a key in. And his truck, I know from experience of watching him start it, he'd go to start it once and it wouldn't start, and click back and then start it again. It had a fuel pump priming problem. I had to prime the fuel pump for it to start. It was no big deal. And the guy's like, no, no, what are you doing? Why are you doing it twice? You're going to make it backfire. You're going to mess it up. Steve's like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, you're going to make it backfire, and giving him all kind of nonsense. And Steve's not a real mechanic or anything, but he knows his truck. Anyway, the guy's giving him grief about that. And Steve starts it up and he says, look, runs fine. No strange noises. He says, I never had a problem with it. And I've had everything fixed on it as far as any oil leaks and stuff along the way. No check engine light, all that stuff works just fine. So the guy's like, oh, can you raise the hood? And they're following him around and checking out what's under the hood and stuff. And they open the hood and there's oil everywhere. There's like oil just dripping from stuff. It's just like, Steve's like, I just got this from the river. I just drove it, 200 miles. I said it was fine. I don't know where all this oil is coming from. They're trying to figure out where the oil is coming from. Steve's looking and he's like, there's oil over here. Maybe it's kind of black. It's kind of maybe power steering fluid. One of the lines broke or something. He couldn't figure it out. So the guy's like, well, let me check the oil. So now they got their, these guys got their hands in there. And the one guy is going, let me check the oil, shut it off. And he pulls the stick out, and Steve comes around looking at him. And he's putting the stick back in, but he's short sticking it. He's only putting it in so far. And he pulls it out, and he says, look, this thing doesn't have any oil in it. This engine's blown or something's wrong with it. This engine, it needs an engine. This thing's bad. And meanwhile, when he's doing that, this other guy takes a little tab off one of the air temperature sensors and pulls it off without Steve seeing him do it. And then the guy goes in there, is it overheating or something? And the guy goes back in, look inside the car, and starts it back up. And he said, look, check engine lights on now. What's going on with this? This engine's blown. And the other guy goes back to the tailpipe, and he's like, look, there's oil dripping from the tailpipe. Look, there's oil. And Steve's like, what? No way. No way. And oh, there's oil coming out of the tailpipe. And Steve's like, and the guy's like, you know what? I wasn't expecting this. He says, you know what? We'll give you, you're asking 7.5, but this thing needs an engine. We're probably looking at maybe 1,500. We'll take it off your hands. But yeah, this engine's blown. And Steve's like starting to spin. He's like, what's going on here? He's scratching his head about all the oils because he just had all the oil leaks fixed, spent a fortune getting all the oil leaks fixed 2 years ago. Anyway, the guys are trying to, rush him into this deal and stuff. And Steve's like, no, I don't feel comfortable. He says, well, I'm going to take it to my mechanic and have him look it over and see what's going on here before we do anything. And the guy's starting to get upset. I drove all the way from so and so. And Steve's like, well, I'm sorry. He says, this never happened before. Never had a problem like this before. And guy goes away mad, pissed off. I drove, you need 2 hours worth of traffic, blah, blah, blah. Trying to get him to short sale it or whatever. And Steve tows it, pays for a tow to the mechanic around the corner or whatever. And the mechanic looks at it, he says, there's a bunch of oil in here, but there's no problem with your truck. Runs great. He says the check engine light was just this wire disconnected right here at the airbox where this guy was hanging out. And then he starts realizing, oh, this is just a scam. So later on, he goes over to the neighbor across the way that has all these cameras and stuff like that, and they review the footage. Here, these guys showed up early. They had this kind of injector, some kind of device that would shoot oil. And he went up into the wheel well, in through the side, and shot engine all up into the engine bay, went to the back, shot oil into the exhaust system, and they pulled this stunt. Yeah, I wonder how many other people they did this to. And like I said, Steve's not a real big mechanic or anything, but he knows basic things, and he got a whiff of what was going on there. He's like, no, I'm not selling it for that. And just beware. There's people doing all kind of crap like that. I was scam artists. That blew my mind. I was like, these guys have balls to do something like that, especially when everybody has cameras these days. Watch your head.